I'm going to show you how to think on paper and become a genius level thinker. There will be 2 distinct phases and 1 complete walkthrough, so you don't skip the first phase like most people do. Now, I am embarrassed to admit this, but you do need to understand the reason as to why I am saying this. I once wrote 70,000 words of notes from just 3 books. Literally just 3 books. I remember my old Obsidian database looking like a vast web of knowledge. It made me very happy looking at how well organized it was, and for hours I would spend every single day organize it and making connections and organizing the different tags during my lectures, mostly when I should have been focusing on my thesis project. But if only it wasn't a web of fake knowledge on my screen and a web of real knowledge inside my own head. This is the danger that comes from cognitive offloading, and it's likely ruining your thinking without you even realizing it. And that's the thing. Most learning and productivity tools, yes my friend, that includes AI, lead you toward this danger without you knowing it. The most sought after resource in the world today is unique knowledge. Not money, not information, not anymore. AI can write a 3,000 word essay that sounds like a Profound Ideas newsletter written by Craig Perry in 10 seconds for a subscription that anyone can afford for $20 a month. But if something is fast and cheap, it likely won't be very good. That's why AI writing isn't pretty great, it's pretty shit, and I prefer to write my own newsletters by hand, which I enjoy doing. It's also why I like to give myself a full week to fully focus on the quality of the ideas that I'm writing about, hence the name of my newsletter, which is Profound Ideas, the name of my personal brand. Average information, writing, and thinking is no longer scarce. The new scarcity is novel perspectives, an undeniable judgment, an individual's intuition or taste, all of which stem from a person's unique knowledge of being themselves. Knowledge which cannot be taught or trained for inside a classroom. Think of it like mastery or expertise. The greatest future-proof skill a learner, writer, or creator can develop is learning how to learn. This is ultimately how you build knowledge that cannot be replicated by anyone else. Or if you're looking to build knowledge to pass an exam, learn a new skill, get your blue belt in jiu-jitsu like I wanted 2 years ago, or start a newsletter or a personal brand like I've done as well in the last 10 months, whatever. Whether or not you can process information into new knowledge is going to depend on your ability to think about information. And this video is going to teach you how to think on paper, or a mind map, which is something that I would prefer, but you can also just do this on paper if that's what you choose to do. Before we learn to think on paper, I think it's very important that we understand what bad thinking looks like first, so we can avoid it, and then focus on thinking well with using paper. So why not create a massive second brain, highlight tons of books, or just outsource all of your thinking to your AI best friend like everyone else is doing today? The problem is that most of these tools don't amplify your thinking straight out of the box, they replace it, especially since most people lack the judgment to use it correctly right in the offset. Highlighting philosophy books, writing 2,000 word mini essays and letting them gather dust inside a second brain, using AI to connect ideas or even write for you, which I don't necessarily have a problem with once you are conveying exactly what it is to the reader that you want to convey, which is the purpose of writing. It's just to communicate knowledge that's inside your brain to the reader. Now, writing a whole newsletter or an essay with just a single prompt of write me a newsletter on productivity in 2,000 words, like that's very bad. That's not going to get you anywhere. Not that I agree with it, it's just not going to be great. Like we've said, fast and cheap, not very good. But all these things feel productive, but they also feel easy, which is why they aren't very effective at building knowledge inside your own brain, because it's inside of your own brain where the bulk of your knowledge is built. AI can make this worse, and I do say the word can. Because if you outsource your thinking to a machine before you've developed your own judgment and taste, you don't just fail to build knowledge, you let a machine's perspective shape how you see the world without you knowing it, which is very important to understand, and here is why. AI does not have knowledge. AI does not have a perspective. It simply imitates an avatar or personality that offers you one. This is why people make poor life decisions. This is why creators go blank when they sit down to write. This is why learners spend hundreds of hours studying and retain practically fuck all of what they've read. Learning speed is determined by how fast you can make connections, not how much you can write down. The barrier that prevents all of this is real and unique knowledge. And unique knowledge is built with one thing and one thing alone, and that is your ability to think with nothing else but your own brain. Your brain is not a vault, it is a spider's web. You can't view information as something that just gets stored and therefore becomes knowledge. Knowledge is information warped, manipulated, stretched and woven into connection with other information until it becomes something new. something that couldn't have existed before you thought of it or before you created something like a newsletter, like a piece of writing, a piece of art. If you confuse capturing information with processing and connecting the dots yourself, it's like trying to escape a lion while running on a treadmill. And I think this matters a lot more beyond just being a learner or a creator or a writer. The exact ideas you think up are the same dots that connect to shape your identity. Your unique web of knowledge built from your prior experiences, your reading, your curiosity, your interests. It's not just how you think, but it's who you are. And cognitive offloading makes you lose the very thing that makes your perspective worth hearing or listening to in the first place. And cognitive offloading just being a learning problem, that's only the surface level of all this. I'm going to name a couple of profound thinkers just to give you some examples of this. They understood these profound ideas mainly because they had no choice, they were limited because they had no technology, and they were being forced to think just pure analog style. If you pay close attention, you will notice the pattern between them. Nietzsche spent his mornings writing, reading, and walking. He believed any thought not conceived on a walk and written down in his notebook by hand was a poor one. Dostoevsky's notebook for the brothers Karamazov looked like this. I think it's pretty fucking cool. Like, he created one of the greatest pieces of literature that the world has ever seen with nothing but the ideas in his own brain and how he expressed those ideas by thinking on paper. That's what writing is. Writing is just formalized thinking. Charles Darwin, the guy who theorized the theory of evolution, wrote by hand for 90 minutes a day and produced 19 books. 19 books for 90 minutes a day of work. That's all he did. 19 books. The common denominator between all of these profound thinkers was that they all taught on paper, or they wrote excessively by hand to consolidate, productize, and distribute their thinking. They created the things they wanted to see exist in the world with nothing but their own minds. Like, seriously, isn't that just mad? That's just profound to think about. It's a profound idea to consider. And imagine what they would have been capable of if they had AI, or which is just infinite information, to help them improve their thinking or to amplify. Like, that's very, very weird to think about. So here is how I'm going to help you do the same. Let's go through the 2 ways to think on paper. If you pay close attention, you will notice that most people skip the first mode for the second and thus miss out on the benefits of both. I also didn't really know what else to call them other than modes. You can also call them phases or steps maybe, but they're 2 phases basically. The first is actually thinking on paper. The second is articulating your finalized thinking on paper. They are not the same, and you will see why. Let's go over mode 1, which is thinking on paper or encoding. This is where knowledge gets built, not with highlighting, not with linear notes, not with Obsidian or a second brain, with your brain on paper in real time. So let's introduce the technique of mind mapping. And I'm not talking about the colorful kind where you have one big word in the center that you see on YouTube productivity thumbnails, because they're not actually very effective ways of mind mapping. Those type of mind maps don't help with chunking and organizing information very effectively inside your own brain. But that's a video for another day. Let me know if you'd like to see me do a video on chunking or even mind mapping. I can go over my very bad process because I'm still learning all this for myself. But yeah, because I am still learning an awful lot about this. I'm not a master at it. I just like to see my newsletters, my video scripts as me just learning in public, which is something I advocate for all creators, creatives, or people trying to start a personal brand out there. If just learn in public, just write about what you're learning. That's what I'm doing. So yeah, but I like to think of mind mapping as relationship mapping. When most people think on paper, they just aren't. Not as well as they could be. They express their thinking like they would with mode 2. They write down tons of linear notes on a topic without understanding the 2 things that actually build knowledge. The first is understanding relationships. The second is making connections. Leave your linear note taking, any type of writing summaries, notes, using second brains if you want. I have mixed opinions on them. Depending on the mode, leave that for mode 2. Mode 1 is for thinking in keywords and grouping them based on their relationships on the page, because sentences contain a lot of filler words that hide relationships. It's very linear, but we want a non-linear understanding, which ultimately stems from making connections in a non-linear way. I will give an example about this. It might sound a little hard to kind of understand when I say it like that. It's a bit abstract, but I will do an actual example in just a moment. So the best thing you can do before you try to learn a topic or read an article is to spend 5 or 10 minutes scanning through it and writing down 5 to 15 keywords that stand out to you. Then draw a very shitty mind map as quickly as humanly possible. I learned this from Justin Sung a couple of months ago, and he is someone you should absolutely be watching if you want to improve your thinking and your learning. I absolutely love that guy. I love his stuff. Go check out his stuff. Also, you should aim to make your quickly drawn mind map wrong. But why? This will leverage the hypercorrection effect, because your brain is more likely to remember something if it gets corrected on it. The learning loop of consumption and digestion looks like this. You consume, then we think, then we destroy and evaluate, rebuild our model or our schema. It's just a schema, it's a mind map, it's a framework, a mental model, whatever you want to call it. And then we consume again. And that is literally learning 101, more or less. So that is how knowledge actually gets built inside your own brain. And that's why I like mind mapping, because it helps you use and activate the right cognitive processes that actually help you to build knowledge. Mode 2 is articulating on paper, which is retrieval. Since you have built new knowledge using mode 1, we now use mode 2 to express that knowledge. And this is where you can write pure analog style if you want. You can take out a notebook, you can write linear notes, you can write an essay, you can write a summary, but you're not allowed to look at your mind map. You have to try to recall this from memory. Full sentences, structured essays or newsletters, constructing the logical chains between ideas yourself, making ideas flow and fit together, but done by you and your own brain. Not with AI, which is what most people do. Learn to think and connect ideas yourself. It will help you with your logical thinking. If you like using a second brain, this is where it can truly shine, but not in mode 1, which is where second brains fail to be of real benefit. And that is why I say I hate using second brains. I got a fair bit of hate in my last video for saying that idea, but helping me to create with my knowledge, to express my knowledge, to write my newsletters, to brainstorm ideas. Absolutely. Mode 2 is a very different story, and I want to make something crystal fucking clear for a second. Mode 2 is not for learning, so to speak. I'm talking pages of handwritten summaries, mini essays in Obsidian, even mind maps drawn without looking at your original mind maps, and I dare say it, linear notes recalled from memory. These belong in mode 2 and only in mode 2. Using mode 2 for encoding and not retrieval is where most people ruin their learning, because you need to build knowledge first before you can attempt to retrieve it from your memory. Think first, then articulate your thinking. Because what separates someone from being a die-hard note-taker and a profound thinker is thinking about relationships. Here is a niche example. Anytime I stop obsessing about tiny details in jiu-jitsu and start connecting and abstracting them within the big picture, I understand faster and hit the moves with more success. I'm not great at jiu-jitsu either, but it is something that I've noticed that speeds up my rate of progress. Details always serve some underlying concept. If you can understand the concepts behind why an armbar works, you can armbar anyone from anywhere. And that's why I love jiu-jitsu. I think it's one of the most profound forms of creative expression, but by using the body, which I think is pretty profound. Thinking in terms of relationships and connections, and not just isolated elements of information, will speed up your learning tenfold. And here is one last thing, and this applies to both modes or phases. These modes work better when they're pointed in a tangible direction. I don't think you ever really want to just be learning for learning's sake. If your learning isn't helping you to improve your health, increase your wealth, make your relationships more enjoyable, and maximize your happiness and minimize your time doing something, reconsider what you are learning. That's just my opinion. You don't have to take that as gospel. It's just an idea to think about. Maybe you have an exam to pass, a skill to develop, or an audience to build with your brand. Whatever you want to aim at. You want your learning to help you build the life you want. If you want a hand with this, you can check out my Profound Self-Education Guide. In my last video, I was kind of shitting on courses a little bit. I'm not fully against courses entirely. I actually think they're very, very good. But what I don't like is learning for learning's sake, which is something that I think a lot of people make when they buy a course. They buy an 8-hour course to learn one specific little detail, or they have one specific problem, and they just waste, like, go through a course, learn it, but only learn what you need to take from it, if that makes sense. It's like people spend hundreds of thousands of hours learning all this information and consuming it, and not thinking about the big picture in terms of bottlenecks. Like, what is stopping your immediate progress right now in this very moment? That's what my guide is about. It's less of an actual guide or a course, really. It's more of a philosophy. It's more or less my learning and productivity philosophy, really, that I've learned over the last year. It helps me get my college work done a month early by just doing an hour of work a day. I talk about it more on the landing page. You can go read it. And if you would like to read the first 2 or 3 sections, maybe 4 sections, I can't really remember, you can read them for free over on my Substack. I will leave a link to it in the description. So now, the moment that you have all been waiting for, let's see what this looks like in practice, and I'm going to do this in real time to show you what it looks like. So what would this look like if you're, let's say, reading a book or trying to learn about a concept or a topic that you're trying to use to solve a problem, a real measurable problem in your daily life? Let's use 2 examples, one for mode 1 and one for mode 2. For mode 1, we are going to use, I don't have the book on me, I gave it to my friend Sean, who still has it. I haven't gotten it back off him, but we're going to use Aristotle's The Nicomachean Ethics, which is one of my favourite philosophy books that I've ever read. I would like to reread it. I probably will after this video now. It's actually one of the books that I wrote 20 to 30,000 words worth of notes on back when I wrote 70,000 words worth of notes instead of doing my college work, which I should have been doing. So I'm going to use ChatGPT and I'm going to ask it to give me 5 to 15 keywords based on book 1 of Aristotle's The Nicomachean Ethics. Feel free to do this alongside me if you'd like. You can find the book for free online if you want to follow along with me. If you're curious as to why we use keywords and just get a list of keywords like before we read something or a topic or a chapter, it's to give ourselves an initial schema or mental model to start building and to start refining across time. Like we've said, learning is about consuming and digesting, and the digesting part is about having the schema that's inside of our brain. We have a schema for what we want to learn based on our topic. It's a mental model that we've created, and the learning comes from evaluating it, testing our understanding, and then destroying the model or the framework or the mind map, whatever you want to call it, and then rebuilding it. And that's all that we do across time. I have a guide over on my Substack on priming. In that guide, I actually do what I'm doing right now. I do a full walkthrough. I go through, I think it's existentialism on the Stanford Encyclopedia page, and I go through what I would do if I was priming, and I basically primed my brain to learn it in real time and just wrote down what I did. A lot of you guys seem to like it. I'll leave the link down below. It's over my Substack. Go check it out. Right. So there are my keywords that I have written down now. And looking at these now, I have absolutely no clue as to how they are going to relate to each other. I've completely forgotten about what the book is about and what I read. So I'm going to spend about 3 or 5 minutes trying to map them out as quickly as humanly possible, and then I will get back to you. Okay, so this is the first little mind map that I've drawn, and I know that this is absolutely not perfect. It's definitely going to be wrong. I have no idea if any of this is right, but I am now going to open up my Kindle, which I have here, and I'm going to begin reading, and I'm going to go through a couple of iterations of my mind map, and then once I get through a couple of sections or so, I will get back to you. Okay, so I have kind of been messing around for a while, and this is the mind map that I have gotten to now. It's not perfect. I know the stuff on the left here is a little bit messy to me. This is just an iteration. I've only been doing this for a while. It's not a perfect model, but you can definitely see the difference between the first mind map that we did and the second one. This is a lot more well organized. I have a couple of chunks here. So I have like chunk of happiness, which leads to purpose and a complete life. We also have the chunk of the good life, which is 3 types of life, which is what Aristotle is saying, which is what I'm kind of, this is what I've interpreted from what I've read, that there's 3 types of life. There's one of pleasure, political, and the contemplative. And I've shortened it as well just to CONT, because I don't need to write out the rest of the word. That's why I don't like writing linear notes. If I can give like a very quick example just to kind of show you, like I could be reading chapter 1, book 1, the first section, and it says here, every art and every inquiry and similarly every action as well as choice is held to aim at some good. I said that really poorly, but I could like read that and go, okay, I'm going to take some notes. This is why I don't like taking notes. Like, so I could be looking at this going, yeah, right. All action and choices all aim at some good. Right, that's very linear. I don't like taking notes like this. This is why I don't like taking linear notes. It's why I don't like second brains for building new knowledge. Because instead of this, which is our first example, here's a better example of what you could do with mode 2, or mode 1, sorry. So instead of me reading this and going, okay, all action and choices all aim at some good, I can just go action, choice, good. Notice how many words and time I'm after saving there, just by mapping out the keywords and the relationships. So I know here by looking at this that action leads to good, and so does choice. So your actions and your choices both lead to the good. They all aim at some good. I can kind of understand that, but I can also see that maybe there's a relationship between actions and choice. So I don't really know. That's something for me to think about. Like I can look at this very quickly and go, oh, okay. Like our visual processing is way faster. I don't know the exact stats to give you, but our visual processing is way faster than how we process words or sentences. So I can look at this visual and go, okay, actions and choice both lead to the good. Instead of having to go, all action and choices all aim at some good. It's very linear. It's very isolated. It's not integrated. I can't see what the connections are here. I have to kind of really think about that. It's like, I don't know. Hopefully this all makes some sort of sense. Learning comes from the destructive rebuild cycle of this schema, or mind map. As David Deutsch puts it in the beginning of Infinity, all we are doing is testing our explanations to refine them. I don't think I have the book on me. I've been reading it. I read the first 10 pages the other day, and it's pretty cool. I'd highly recommend reading it. It's quite hard, but yeah, I'd just go read it. But this mind map that I've drawn now, I've drawn on paper, even though it's technically a screen, but it's an infinite canvas. It's called Concepts. I'd recommend using it. You don't really want to be limited by like the size of a page and like having to erase words all the time. That's why I'd recommend using like an iPad or a mind map if you can. But this mind map is a hypothesis. It's not supposed to be perfect. If anything, I want it to be wrong. I want to keep making my understanding, my explanation of book 1 of the Nicomachean Ethics more and more irrefutable until there is nothing left to add, remove or change within my mental model, which will likely never happen. It will never be perfect, but that's what learning is all about. And now we are going to go through our second example, which is what this would look like with mode 2. And you are actually already looking at it. Mode 2 is the newsletter that I wrote for this. It's the video script that I'm reading to you now, because all that my YouTube videos are just me reading my newsletter to a camera. My Substack newsletter, you can go subscribe to it if you want. If not, no stress. But everything that you've just listened to me read to you started as a shitty mind map, because I actually use mind mapping in my writing process when I research and I brainstorm ideas to write about. I use mind map to think on paper. It's way faster than just writing linear notes. And I did accidentally delete the mind map that I made for this newsletter, so I apologize for that. So I can't show it to you guys. Maybe next week for next week's newsletter if that's something that you're interested in. But mode 2 is where you take what you've built inside your head and share it with the world. You create, you express it, you solve a problem that you have. And the best vessel that I've found for doing this is writing online, by starting your own newsletter. Writing online forces you to articulate your thinking, so you have to be able to speak in a clear way that anyone can read and easily understand what it is that you're trying to communicate to them. Hopefully I've done an okay job with this. If not, let me know. And it builds your personal brand, as cringy as that term is. It attracts other thinkers who are curious about the same things as you are, and over time it becomes a meaningful body of work, or a record of how your thinking and unique knowledge has grown over time. Building a personal brand, whatever you choose to see it as, or using social media to share your unique knowledge, is the ultimate vessel for personal self-development, learning and thinking. If you want to start doing this yourself, like what I've been doing with my Substack, I think I'm close at about 30,000 subscribers now in the last 11 months or 10 months, which is just insane to me. It hasn't fully sunk in to me properly. I definitely have like imposter syndrome with it, but yeah, it's basically what I've been doing for like the last year. And I keep getting a ton of messages asking me about all this writing stuff. So here are the first 2 writing guides that I have created for you guys. The The first is on how to do research for long form writing, which is something that I don't see discussed an awful lot. It basically teaches you how to find validated topics to write about, how to build angles and reframes, and how to create your own unique perspectives. I don't want to say it's necessarily a guide for going viral, but a lot of my newsletters go viral and semi-viral and trending on Substack, and this is the strategy that I use to basically achieve that. The second guide is how to learn and master any topic through writing. This actually leverages mode 2 that we have discussed, and you can use mode 1 to help you brainstorm for what you want to write about. But it's basically how using writing one long form post a week, like an essay or a newsletter, which is what I'm reading to the camera. Basically how I think that is the most efficient learning, self-development system. Even if you want to start your own part-time one-person business, which is what I'm doing, this is what my personal brand is for. It's my content creation system, but it's also my learning system, which I don't see talked about enough in terms of like angle or positioning. But yeah, I think the best way to learn is to write something. It's to write a newsletter, one essay a week, and post it online and see what people think. You'll attract people who are like-minded like you, profound thinkers that like to think like you. And I think it's great. I'm going to shut up now because I'm waffling now. But yeah, hopefully this video or this newsletter, if you are reading it over my Substack, which I will leave a link to in the description, hopefully you've learned something from it. Let me know if you have, let me know if you haven't. And hopefully it has encouraged you to start thinking on paper. Thank you for your time and attention. I know it's very, very valuable, and I think you're an absolute legend. Now go draw a very shitty mind map for me and have a great day.